Welcome, everyone. Let's jump straight in. We're looking at two volumes here. One addressing Cambodia's evolution since 1991, and another diving into ancestral roles in Borneo societies.
That's quite a spectrum, isn't it? Cambodian political narratives on one hand, and rich anthropological theory on the other.
Right. Exactly. So, with the first volume, edited by Pau Sotharak, Jeff Wade, and Mark Hong, we're dealing with a commemorative collection marking 20 years since the Paris Peace Agreement. It gathers contributions from major figures, politicians, policymakers, so you get a fascinating blend of personal memories, policy debates, and, frankly, some overt political messaging.
Yeah, it's interesting how, while the book features voices like Sakon and former ambassadors, many arguments seem to lack deep academic analysis.
Right. And what really stands out, is that despite the lack of intellectual depth in several papers, the volume's value lies in its portrayal of how different political players framed their roles during and after UNTAC. It's almost like watching a live political play where every character is either praising or criticizing the government.
I find it quite bold how some contributions, like Wolfgang Saxenroeder's, even lean on questionable sources, citing Wikipedia for demographic stats, for instance.
Yep, that certainly raises questions, doesn't it? It's a reminder that history isn't just about facts, but also memory, selective recollection, and political self-promotion. And, eventually you see voices from various political factions expressing either overt support or biting criticism.
Shifting gears, what about the second volume, Ancestors in Borneo Societies? It sounds like a bold re-examination of classical anthropology.
Exactly. Right. This collection, edited by Pascal Kuderk and Kenneth Cylinder, takes us back to the classic work of Robert Hertz, but then moves beyond his focus on mortuary rites. They introduce this idea of ancestorship, where ancestors are still active, offering guidance to the living.
Yeah, that's a fascinating twist.
It's like they're saying it's not just about death and rituals, it's about an ongoing transformative connection where the dead still play a consultative role.
That conceptual leap definitely expands Hertz's legacy, especially his dichotomy of the right hand representing virtue and the left hand as profane.
Yep, exactly. And they back this up with a 61-page theoretical survey, which, yes, can be pretty dense, but it's also enriched by references to early ethnographies, like those of Mallinckrodt and Scherer. What's interesting here is that while the volume is academically ambitious, some might argue that its reliance on Hertz makes it feel a bit, heavy on tradition.
I can see that point, but it seems they're also trying to modernize that perspective, right?
Precisely. It's as if they're challenging Hertz's rigid framing by broadening the framework into something dynamic, a living legacy rather than a static set of rituals.
Exactly, a kind of reinterpretation of ancestral influence.
And what ties both volumes together, interestingly, is their focus on how history is not merely recorded but actively shaped, whether it's through political self-narration in Cambodia or through the cultural transmission of memory in Borneo.
Absolutely.
In Cambodia, you see a myriad of opinions where some contributors are unreservedly positive about initiatives like those supporting relations with ASEAN, while others stray into polemics, even bordering on conspiracy theories.
It almost feels like a political tug-of-war.
Yes, and it's this tug-of-war that, despite its biases, offers us a snapshot of how power, memory, and policy interweave in post-war recovery.
Indeed, fascinating stuff.
Meanwhile, the Borneo volume reminds us that cultural memory and the power of the past don't just vanish. They transform and adapt, resonating with modern societal changes.
For sure, that's the beauty of reinterpreting classical theories.
Now, if I might, I do want to challenge one point. The Cambodian volume, despite its rich cast of contributors, might be seen by some as more of a political showcase than a balanced scientific analysis.
I totally see that. But isn't there value in capturing these diverse, if biased, perspectives?
Absolutely, you're right. There is value, particularly as a historical record of how political agendas were framed, yet it does leave the reader wishing for a more critical, analytical lens.
That's a fair critique.
And on the flip side, while the Borneo study is conceptually rich, its density might turn off those not steeped in anthropological theory. Some might feel it lacks the accessibility of a more narrative approach.
Yeah, the academic rigor there is a double-edged sword. It's enlightening, but occasionally, a bit overwhelming.
So, in summing it up, both volumes offer distinct insights. One provides a mosaic of political narratives and memory-making in Cambodia, and the other redefines how we view ancestors' roles in society, moving from ritual to active, guiding forces.
Exactly. Each book, though different in style and focus, challenges us to see the past not as static, but as a living influence on the present.
And that, at its core, is what makes both of these works so compelling. They remind us that whether it's in the realm of geopolitics or cultural anthropology, history is continuously reinvented through the voices that shape it. Each publication, in its own way, compels us to consider the implications of our historical narrative choices. It's like, deciding which parts of history to highlight and which to challenge.
Super thought-provoking.
And don't you think it's fascinating how both the political and cultural angles intersect? One reflects on the pragmatic realities of policy and power, while the other delves into beliefs that govern social practices.
Yeah, it's like two sides of the same coin, each adding depth to our understanding of societal transformation.
Exactly. And these discussions pave the way for, further interdisciplinary inquiry. Whether you're into political sciences or anthropology, both volumes spark the debate on how memory and history drive modern identity.
Absolutely, they're like a call for more nuanced cross-disciplinary research in Southeast Asia.
And that wraps it up nicely. We've unraveled the layers of political self-narration in Cambodia and the evolving concept of ancestrality in Borneo. Not just to reminisce about the past, but to question how it shapes present struggles.
Right, it's been an enriching exploration.
Thanks for being a part of this deep dive, and here's to many more discussions on how history, in all its forms, continues to influence our world.
Cheers to that!